Hello everybody, welcome to a Monday morning, or morning-ish edition of Banter Blitz with me. And I've watched a bunch of TV over the weekend, so I felt it was important to get all of my opinions off my chest. And what better excuse, because I don't really have friends to talk about about such things. I also don't really have English skills that early. So I have to do a Banter Blitz to talk about television shows. And therefore, the shows we shall spoil today are Sherlock. I've watched a new episode of Sherlock. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll do mild spoilers only, but still, switch off the show, because I'm planning to talk about it a lot. I've seen Happy Valley Season 2. Very depressing. I might spoil that. I'm going to spoil everything there is to spoil about Terrace House, but I don't think any of you have seen that. So that is more or less the plan for today. We shall, as an excuse, as background music, play some Blitz games. You challenge me to a game of 3 minutes or 5 minutes if you are a Chess24 premium user, and I might or I might not accept your challenge. And then you might or you might not complain about it in the chat. This is how we do things over here. Let's get this train wreck off the ground. And play somebody. What about Mr. ZenFrog73? That's an interesting username already. I always considered frogs to be pretty zen. There's something peaceful about them. As for the number 73, my normal guess is that it indicates his date of, or his year of birth. And he seems to be planning to build a stone wall Dutch. I've recently, I think in one of my opening clinics, I've seen someone ask about a setup that I found intriguing, but it was after c6 to play with knight c3, d5, bishop f4. But Zenfrog goes bishop e7. He might be planning to play that system, which I've vouched to study 1,000 times. I've never done it. After knight f3, castles, to play d6 and then queen e8 and caveman style try to checkmate me. I've never looked at it because I don't want to look at it. But it's something that's becoming embarrassing because normally I get bad positions against it, even though I don't think it's a very promising system. But I just don't feel like studying it. a5, also weird little move. But why not? I'll develop pieces towards the center. How bad can that be? Put the knight on c3. He goes d6. What am I supposed to do? b3 looks normal. Queen c2 intending e4 looks normal. Rook e1 intending e4 also looks kind of normal. I don't know these things, as mentioned. But a5, I feel like, I don't know what to feel about it. I'm very prejudiced about early f5s, because I just think, how can this be right to weaken your king that early during a chess game? Then again, they often justify it by... No, they don't. I just justify it often by playing terribly. bc3, of course, could be debated. Queen c3 looks more natural, but I want to generate an initiative by following up with e4 sooner rather than later. Therefore, I felt bc3 might be a good idea. Here, of course, I have some pawn weaknesses, but opening the position, getting to this e6 pawn seemed to be a bigger priority than worrying about the pawns. And there are also no weaknesses if they can't be attacked. Here it's not obvious to me how these pawns shall be attacked. What do I do next? Bishop f4 looks like a natural enough move. That's all I need really. h4 intending knight g5 was also an option. But bishop f4, planning rook d1 and then maybe d5 or whatever to open up the center. Seems like a decent plan. Bishop h3 is also looming. But I don't want to pull the trigger on that just yet. Because if in doubt, develop your pieces first. Well, for black, also indicated by the move h6, it's not that obvious what to do next. Invite everyone to the party, as they say. Doesn't really happen much in real life, right? Do you ever, like, invite everyone you know to a party? Aren't there some people you dislike, you want to avoid at your party? I don't know. Queen d7 looks highly artificial, highly fishy. Frog making fishy moves. Let's go here. Best move he has is queen f7, trying to make it to an endgame. Pawn down. I might be like cashing in too quickly, common mistake. Or, ooh, no, this was really bad. I'm getting a bad vibe here because I didn't think this through. G5 was also possible, bishop somewhere, knight d8. But anyway, king f7. I'm a pawn up, but now, of course, I am stuck with these double pawns that make conversion a little tougher. Still, white has a serious advantage here. I should not complain too much just yet. I might complain later. And Zenfrog is zenning it up here. What do I want to do? I think I want to provoke b6 just so I can leapfrog him later by going c5, opening the position up. And by later, I mean now. Do I mean now? c5? Nah, c3 is still hanging. Not worth going through all that trouble. I'll start a long, kind of random, but pretentious knight maneuver, showing deep understanding. Like in these old books, I would get praised for like spotting the best square for the knight is b5 and wasting 18 moves to put it there. I'm not sure how much sense this makes, but it's good to be pretentious once in a while so you can justify, oh, that's grandmasterly understanding. He spotted where to put that knight. And by doing that, overstretched black's defenses. He goes knight a7, trying to exchange knights. Should I go there? I'll keep my options open for now. Hint at c5 as well with rook d3. It's hinting at c5 because I'm covering the c3 pawn. So yeah, I'm better. Pawn up. I want to throw in king g2 just for the h of it. And then see what happens. It's a very unpleasant task for black because he didn't like put his knight on a good square like myself. But it's quite passive on a7 actually. King g6. I want to throw this in. It's really a bit of a waste of time, but why not? King is a tiny bit better on g2 than on g1 because it can't run into any checks. King f5. I'm curious if he wants to follow through and play king e4. But king e4 is not exactly the end of the world for me. So this might be a good time to open the position. He does go king e4 indeed, which is cute. Alright. Not sure rook b2 was also legal. And yeah, king e4. Now at least c3 is under attack. So maybe I should have given this a bit more thought. But if your opponent has the king on e4 with the board not full of pieces, but some pieces, then normally good things will happen for you. Another rule that I just made up. What's the clock situation? I feel like I'm being very chatty. And I'm missing obvious moves like c6. Okay, focus. Yeah, this has not gone well. Hi. Now, with one pair of rooks gone, all of a sudden, it's no longer that obvious his king on e4 is weak, but I'll try to exploit it tactically. My point is if he takes, I can maybe go rook e1 check and then take on e7. By maybe, I mean definitely. Definitely maybe. Is that an Oasis album? Rook f7 seems to be the only move. How do I win? Maybe I don't win. That'd be very sad. Well, he walks right into my trap. Maybe it wasn't a trap. Maybe he's calculated all of this. That would not be very fair, if you ask me. But what to do? Sometimes your opponents calculate. And while it is kind of cheating if they think about stuff, there is no rule against it, really. So sometimes you just gotta say, okay, I don't appreciate all your thinking, but I can't stop you from doing so. And this might be one of these cases. The position is no longer clear. He's picked up a pawn for the exchange. The d pawn is quite strong. And my knight on a3 is a tiny bit clumsy. I'm gonna reroute it eventually to d2 or wherever. But yeah, I'm not thrilled about how this has gone. Let's first stop him from queening the d pawn, because I don't want that to happen at all. Now I feel like this knight has done its duty, whatever its duty was. It wasn't like a full-time job really, on a3, and should go somewhere else. Mr. Zen Frog centralizes his king. I'm gonna, yeah, put this knight on e4, expecting knight b5, which is obvious enough. Yeah, knight e4, very important to stop knight c3 check, and in general to send a little proof of life. I think I'm still kind of winning if I can get to this d3 pawn, but this has gotten a lot spicier than I expected it to be. Oof, and I'm playing badly too. Yeah, I missed knight d4. Ay. Good thing is I had some... I don't have enough margin for error to blunder my rook by playing h3, but I had some margin for error, so I'm still doing alright if I can avoid further rook blunders. Generally, rook blunders are pretty hard to overcome in my limited experience with the topic. b1 is a very random move. I'm going to win on time, as usual. That is the last resort and the first resort, but it was a much tougher fight than I would have liked it to be against Zenfrog 73. I got a very good position out of the opening, in my humble opinion, but maybe I cashed in a bit too early with this bishop h3, maybe d5 or whatnot. The position looks very good. And then, yeah, some mutual mistakes made this a lot more exciting than we would have liked it. We would have liked it, I don't know, then I would have liked it. I should stop using the royal we once in a while. Anyway, I promised some spoilers for TV shows. Therefore, let's talk about Sherlock. What went wrong with Sherlock? I really enjoyed seasons 1 and 2 especially. But in season 3 they added this Mary Watson character that kind of made the show a bit nonsensical. Like, how likely is it that everyone this John Watson fella runs into is sort of a superhero character? Not very likely. And season 4, episode 1, I believe is the one I just saw. I didn't like it. Too much action, they're trying to make it James Bondy, and this is Mary Watson, who's supposed to be a former super agent. She does the dumbest stuff. Like, she gets tracked down by carrying a USB stick around with her, and then... Nah, I'm not gonna spoil the end, but she does more dumb shit, or more dumb things, my apologies, along the way. So, yeah, it was very annoying. Also, Sherlock shouldn't get too physical. I understand he's supposed to be an athletic guy, but we don't watch Sherlock for him fighting in a pool with villains or rivals or having prolonged shootouts. Not a fan. Get it together, Sherlock Holmes. Like, you were doing chess players everywhere a big favor by establishing this brainy is a new sexy thing. But now they're saying, okay, we were wrong, brainy isn't that cool after all. We need Sherlock to have all these action sequences to stay sexy. And that's, of course, very bad news for all of us. Speaking of very bad news for all of us, let me play against Daltanius and deliver some bad news to him. Here we are. My rating is getting lower and lower. I have to do something about it. He plays one f4, a move that I've spent about as much time on as on one f5, the system the dude just played against me. I shall occupy the center, and now one can do many things. Knight f6 and g6 is of course perfectly fine. Depending on what he does. Against g3, I'll just do the same thing I just did with colors reversed. Because a wise man, I think it was Mr. Svidler himself, who I think once dabbled with one f4 in a game, once told me that after we both make these standard moves, castle c5, White is in some sort of Zugzwang. He doesn't have anything to achieve, any good move to achieve an advantage. He's already committed to c3, so things are a little different. But it's a common misunderstanding that with colors reversed and you play a system for black, like the Leningrad Dutch, and then you have an extra tempo, that all of a sudden it's a good opening. It's often not the case, because a lot of defenses allow White to, how do I explain this, to sort of bail out or play something like, in these lines, d4 is normally best met by going e4 with colors reversed, d5 met by e5. Then you take, bishop takes, whatever, b6. And maybe black or maybe the Leningrad player, in this case it would be white, equalizes, but you never have more than that. Therefore, to play this for an advantage is often a very, very tricky proposition. I'm not sure I explained that properly, but I hope my point came across. I have to think for 1 second, and only 1 second, because I'm such a fast calculator, about knight e5 here. But I believe that after knight e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes a8, bishop g4, I will at the very least get tremendous compensation for the exchange. And if not, I'll be very sad. Well, f takes e5, there's knight d5. But he does go bishop takes a8, and now I should think for a second. Bishop h3 is interesting, bishop g4 is interesting, and knight takes d3 is interesting. There's many an option. Bishop h3 allows bishop g2, then I would take and go queen d5 check, king g1 back, knight takes d3. It's good compensation, I'm not sure if it's more. Bishop h3, fe, queen a8, rook f2, knight g4 is good for me. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm not sure if it's the best choice. Probably it was something better, frankly. Knight g4 was very interesting as well. But this looks interesting enough. So we'll see where this journey takes us. Bishop g2 seems like the best move. I didn't... Whoa, bishop e4. That is extremely unexpected. If bishop f1, can you go fe5? No, I got knight takes e4. That can't be an issue. Sometimes I'm very bad at keeping the piece count correct. But I'll try my best. My estimation, the piece count is more or less equal here. I hope I'm not a rook down or anything. That'd be most shocking. Bishop c1. I cannot predict a single move Mr. Daltanius is playing. Which is sometimes good news, sometimes bad news. But bishop c1 does not strike me as a move that helps his development, to put it mildly. So I should probably develop a bit. Try to get this open d-file before Daltanius gets his greedy hands on the d-file. Because I know this Daltanius has a bit of a reputation for grabbing d-files ahead of others, waiting in line. And I hope this is an instructive grandmasterly decision. Or maybe it's just a move. But it feels like I should accentuate, is that a word? Accentuate my lead in development by getting rid of his best defender. And now he's sort of stuck here. How do I use that? Knight e3, king f3, I don't have any squares yet. So I should probably go this way. My bishop is not very active on, what do we call this square? I believe the square is called g7. So I should do something about that. And yeah, rook f1 was kind of not helping my case all that much. How do I make progress here? He wants to go rook b1 followed by bishop e3. So I should do something about that. Not sure if e5 is what I should do about it. There must have been something good, but as usual, I could not spot it. He goes knight c2, and he wants to follow that with bishop e3. Also legal. No, I feel I've bungled most of my advantage here. Rook f1, king g2. And there's once again no way to make progress. ef, he's going to go bishop takes f4. Yeah, not much left, unfortunately. Apologies to the royal game of chess for mistreating it. But it's a hard knock game for us. Gf, unfortunately, looks fairly playable as well. Yeah, I somehow missed the way to keep my initiative going here. But instead of whining, I should probably continue playing. Even though I prefer whining, to be frank with you. What do I do with my pieces? I don't know. I have no idea what to do. Probably centralize the king. I'm desperate enough to think about centralizing the king. Which really is last resort. Yeah, I've messed this up. I'm not better at all anymore. Maybe even slightly worse. But life goes on. Not sure if it does really. This is rather frustrating. Ooh, now I'm blundered knight b5. Yeah, things are not going great. Should stop blundering. I believe that would be a good idea in general. Not blunder knight e8 check here, for example. Many a thing to avoid blundering. A4, Daltanius all of a sudden playing extremely well. I don't like that one bit, as you probably know. What do I do with my dumb bishop? No, there's no good moves. He's too strong. At the very least, I'm very, very slow as well. Oh, e5 is maybe strong. No, I've just been getting outplayed from a weird position. It looked like I was better, so I thought. Can't really put my finger on what's happening here. Okay, he does go e5. And I must scramble on. Aimlessly moving my king around, trying to avoid getting punished. But I'm not sure I'll be able to avoid it. He's playing cool, calm and collected, systematically improving his position. Well, there's very little I can do, except for witnessing the drama. Might be Zugzwange as well. I'm not sure if it's Zugzwange or not. Knight e7, you have to go back. What can I do? Can I go here? It's time to stop feeling sorry for myself. Get out of the victim role. Very good life advice normally. Get out of the victim role. Probably not very good English advice, but good life advice. The bishop should go back to e3 to stop me from going knight d4 check. The question is, can I do anything useful? Probably not, to be perfectly honest, but I would like to. I'll wait for a move, because I also don't have any time. Objectively, I guess the verdict is there's not a lot of usefulness to be done here, so it should end peacefully, even though with h5 I might just have hurt my position beyond repair again, but that's because I'm kind of gambling to play for a win, which probably is not really something this position is asking for. We'll find out. Both these pawns are under attack. Oh, he gave me one. That is friendly. It's time to speed up just a little bit, because, as you can tell by the clock situation, there's not oceans of time left here. Ugh, did I bungle it again? I did not count this race, but normally if you have two passed pawns, you're in good shape in such a race. And yeah, Daltanius resigns because of the king h4, d3. My d-pawn queens. Another game where I didn't really look like the stronger player. Or I might have looked like the stronger player up till somewhere here. But I could not find a way to generate an initiative here at all. Which is sad. But what to do? When in doubt, flag, as pointed out by Ambitious Pawn in the chat. That is my motto indeed. Let us play someone else. What about Schubert? Schubert from the Netherlands. Who's Schubert? Is that the composer dude? There is a German comedian who I am not a big fan of, called Olaf Schubert, right? No, he's not that unfunny. Anyway, this Schubert is apparently from the Netherlands and goes for the move 1 d4. I shall bring my knight out, and he plays knight f3. What can I do here? Now let's fianchetto this bishop. So what other TV shows was I planning to talk about? I finished Happy Valley Season 2. Happy Valley is an excellent little British crime show. It's incredibly frustrating because everything's sad in this Happy Valley. It's really not happy at all. Even their theme song is like the only thing that's pretty is the thought of getting out. Something like that. So yeah, it's not really a happy place. But it's still very well written, directed, good characters. What's her name? Sarah Lancashire? Is that the actress or the character? I don't know. Anyway, it's a good show. I recommend it if you don't mind dark, depressing stuff. As for spoilers, I forgot the plot because I was so depressed about what was happening. So we should probably talk a bit about the situation on the board. Castles, castles here. c4 is the main move, and after c4, c6 you get this infamous Grunfeld exchange Slav hybrid. Vladimir Kramnik has been experimenting with tons of moves in this position. c3, b3, bishop f4, knight bd2, you name it, he's played it. My opponent Schubert played knight bd2. One common antidote to the knight going to d2 is to push your a-pawn as I did, because after a5 the knight can no longer go to c3, therefore it's much harder for white to stop a4. And here after c4, c6, b3, which we have on the board, I think I had a game like this once where I either play bishop f5, bishop b2, a4, or a4 directly. Can't remember, I'll go a4 directly here. If white goes ba, black has to spend some time to win his pawn back, but he normally does after like queen a5, queen takes a4. Well, if white doesn't take, then black can just keep developing, and in many a line will be useful to be able to throw in a4, a3, especially against a bishop on b2. Bishop a3 is normally a decent idea against these a5, a4 lines. Now that I look at it, bishop a3 might actually be a theoretical move here. Is that a game Kramnik Caruana maybe? I don't know. Looks vaguely familiar. He plays b4. Why do people not play b4? a3 would be one very ambitious way to try to punish it, but I'm not so sure about it. This pawn might get lost. Knight e4 looks like another principled way to make this b4 move. Trying to somehow destabilize his construction before he's fully developed. Not sure I'll succeed though, because white can just play a3 now, and I don't really see anything good to do. So I'll probably just develop a piece, bishop f5 or whatnot. I'm briefly checking in with the chat. And the chat says, have you seen Homeland? What is this, 2011? We've stopped talking about Homeland like many years ago, and with good reason. I've seen season 1 and probably 2, and quit somewhere around there, and I thought so had everybody else. Knight e5, knight c3 is a move. Let's try it. I'm not quite sure where this is leading. Queen e1 is forced queen c2. I just take everything. Now I wanted to take here. My pieces are a little shaky. Actually, yeah, after knight dc4, I don't think I can get away with queen takes d4 at all, as I intended. So this whole operation was a little bit in vain. And Schubert, rated 1629, is playing very well, albeit very slowly, I was gonna say, but he's actually ahead on the clock, so can't even rely on Flagsville. Knight dc4, I probably have to go something like knight b5 and pretend it was all part of the plan, which, as usual, it wasn't. e3 is also a good move, just stopping me from getting to this guy. And planning to take on c4 next. And yeah, once again, there's nothing spectacular I can do, so I'll put my knight here, hope this is a good square, and see what happens. Bring the other pieces out. Still doesn't look terrible. Terrible for black. I haven't seen episode 2 of Sherlock yet. I think that aired last night on TV. No, I'm not that fast. I'll watch it and maybe I'll change my opinion. But it was frustrating. I understand they needed this episode 1 to get something done that I won't spoil. But was very frustrating that they made it look like, well, the show used to be smart, and now, yeah, they tried to make it cool and actiony, and it really wasn't, because this episode was dumb. This whole Mary backstory and how she acts, it didn't really work at all for me. So yeah, first world problems, very upset about the integrity of a fictional show based on novels from whenever, 150 years ago, set in a modern time, and it's not true to the spirit. I don't know. We're all so full of it. As for the game, at the very least, I fixed his pawn on a2 now. I guess it's still roughly equal, but I'd rather be black here, because this target is there to stay. And for white, it's not so easy to generate an initiative on the king side or in the center. Probably should go g4. But yeah, Double-edged. What else are we discussing? Who would make a great James Bond? Is that still not settled? I read this guy who plays Loki is gonna be James Bond. That didn't make sense to me. What's his name? Tom Hiddleston? Apologies. He doesn't look like the physical James Bond presence. I don't know. Yeah, Idris Elba is cool. He was in The Wire, so I like him for that anyway. Who else is out there? I don't know. I don't study these things all that well. One dude I like is this guy called Chris Evans. Is that his name? I think that's his name. He's playing Captain America. I think he's a funny guy and he would have the presence to be Bond. But I'm not... I also like Ryan Gosling. Is he in the discussion? Probably not. He's too serious a dude, right? I don't know. I haven't followed this topic. It was a topic of discussion like a year ago. I thought they had named someone by now, but I'm not in touch with the James Bond recruiting. Or didn't they say that Daniel Craig was supposed to do another movie or two? I don't know these things. Keep me posted. Also, being told more stuff about Queen b6, bad move. Maybe I should tone down the TV talk for a second, because Queen b6, Queen c5, I had anticipated that, but I missed it after Queen a6. You can go Bishop f1. Frankly, doesn't do all that much. My screensaver has enough squares, and this is hanging, but I still missed it, which is annoying. Once again, I'm gonna try to win on time, I guess, but it's getting a bit frustrating. Is it? Nah. Who cares? I should find some way to improve my position somewhere, somehow. Or take some expert decision like bishop takes e5, but this might just be a horrible move. You never know with these expert decisions, because if they're non-standard, often they're non-standard for a reason. My queen is a bit far off the grid here, but I'll try to play non-standard in order to win on time more quickly. Bishop e2 is what I'd expect. Then I want to go knight h3, king g2, f6. He goes bishop g2. But that's in general quite unkind to the light squares. Now queen e2 check is a threat, or queen d5 check. I don't think that you can do this. This is checkmate. Good game by Schubert, actually, which, yeah, it escalated quickly after my brilliant deep decision to take on e5. Takes knight g5. Here, I think he should have gone here. When I'm fine, but I'm not sure what I would have done. Probably f6 or knight h3 followed by f6. Who knows? Maybe d e5 was more prudent. Alright, let's play another game and see what we're conversing about in the meantime. Who is new? What about... Oh, I tried to click something. I'm not sure it fully worked. Let's try again. Clicking is an underrated skill. What about Poli Vega? That sounds a bit like a mafia name. Paulie Vega. But it's probably not Paulie, but Poli. That also wouldn't be called Vega, right? Why am I thinking of Paulie? Is that the dude from Goodfellas? Ah, yeah, that's the guy. Paulie. Anyway, Poli Vega is from Argentina. Has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about. And he might not even be here. If he's not here, then there's very little I can do but starting the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and abort. Sorry, Poli Vega. I can, however, try to find someone else. People are asking about the chat too. Let's keep playing Paulies. Another Paulie. Paulie 89. People are asking who's gonna win Vike. And, well, I'm looking forward to commentating Vike very much. I can't say I have memorized the field, to be completely honest with you. However, I believe Magnus Carlsen is playing, and normally, if Magnus Carlsen is playing in a tournament, he has earned the benefit of the doubt by pretty much, even though 2016 we could argue if it was a good year for him, he's won pretty much every classical tournament he's played. So I'm gonna say Magnus Carlsen is gonna win Vike. And yeah, call me brave for that prediction. Paulie89 is not with us either. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 and abort. Maybe there is a Paulie meeting going on somewhere. Paulie Vega and Paulie89 both got distracted. They got called to the second annual Paulie meeting. They have these very regularly. It's only January 9th, already the second Paulie meeting, so both can't play the game. Let's see if we find someone not called Paulie to play a game. Might not be so easy. What about Nukes? Nuketh? Probably Nukes. My first game ever against Nukes. What does Nukes mean? I do recall playing Duke Nukem when I was a kid. One of these. I didn't play many of these ego shooters, but in the very old days, we had Doom and Duke Nukem 3D, showing my age here once again. After that, I somehow quit before games got good, which might have been a mistake. But let's play a good game of chess. Instead, we are playing the Nimzo Indian. Nukes plays Queen C2. In my video series, I recommended castles here. Now let's play what I recommended. I'm always tempted to go d5. Castles, bishop g5. I did touch this briefly, did I not? Can't remember a thing. I think I gave c5. A3 is a bit provocative. I could either go bishop c3, queen c3, cd, queen d4, knight c6, trying to win as much time as possible, or go queen a5. Both look like legitimate options. I don't know. I don't think I covered a3, so it's probably bad. I'm so full of myself. But let's try queen a5, see what happens. Bishop f6, gf, rook c1. I can, at the very least, bail out by going, not bail out, but after bishop f6, gf, rook c1, go bishop c3 and spoil his structure as well. If white starts with rook c1 here, then I can just take, and if queen takes, rook takes, I have knight e4. I also have cd, but knight e4 attacking both these soft spots. Probably what white should do is bishop f6, gf, e3, just continue developing. Which doesn't look too terrible, but it doesn't look too terrible for black either. So we shall see how things develop. I believe in my series after c5 I gave dc5, right? Which is, I think, was played in Aronia and Caruana. I believe that was it. And I had some weird point, dc5, queen a5, bishop d2 or something like that. We'll find out. What else is happening in the chat? Some discussion about Topalov. Yeah, I just read he posted he's not going to play in the Grand Slam. No, what was it? The Grand Prix? I get confused with all these Grands. In the Grand Prix, I believe. And Nukes does what I advised him to do. Maybe he's watching the video, which, however, can be costly because the video is a bit delayed. And after bc3 cd, I think I'm just winning material. Anyway, we were talking about Topalov. Yeah, he hasn't done well in recent tournaments. I actually quite like Topalov. I got to talk to him quite a bit at some of these events where I was commentating, and he's a very friendly dude. So I wish him nothing but the best. It does look like, well, he just got his second kit. He's not fully focused on chess anymore. He's done his things, like he's been world champion and #1 in the rating list. So kudos to Topalov, but yeah, it looks like he's not that focused on chess right now. Probably enjoying life over there in Spain. I'm trying to enjoy life over here in cold Hamburg. Against Nukes, I am a pawn up, which is good Nukes. But it still has to be converted. What else are we reading? Are we reading? I should really stop using the royal we. Someone's asking, sing the Gabru, Jan, can you coach me? I don't do much coaching, and I'd probably be very greedy and not very useful, so I agree with Ambitious Pawn that my first piece of advice would probably be get a new coach that can teach you stuff and charges you less. And therefore, yeah, I don't do much coaching, but send me an email and I'll think about it. Probably I won't. What do I do after rook fc1? I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'll put my knight somewhere out of the way. I should probably do something instructive about, regrouping to attack this weak pawn without allowing knight b5, knight d6, and without weakening my b6 pawn. But that's a tall order to get all these things done, because we also have a lot of TV to watch. Therefore, I'll just make moves. Rook c5, if knight b5, I'll chase him away with a6. If knight b3, I'm going to pretend like I made him misplace his knight and do something clever like rook c7 or whatnot. I don't know. I'm going to win somehow. But will that change anybody's outlook on life? Ambitious Pawn is asking if I saw DOA. And I did watch the first, I believe, like 15 minutes. I thought it was very, very bad, but the kind of bad that probably gets you hooked, right? I thought, okay, this is complete rubbish, but I'll probably get back to it one day. That's how I feel about it. It did look very, very trashy, but it's probably addictive. So I might revisit it. But yeah, DOA, I don't know. It looked so ridiculous and so full of itself. I'm full of myself, so I recognize others full of themselves. Like, it takes itself so seriously without making any sense. Pretty much like me playing chess. Here, for example, I missed knight to e8, which would be a bit annoying, targeting this rook and this pawn. So it's probably a good idea to stop that. Bishop h7, I guess I can sort of trap the bishop by playing f5. Still, I've had it with his knight on d6, all up in my grill, and I will generously offer to exchange it by playing knight c8. You can choose. I'm willing to exchange it for either my bishop or my horsey. Looks like he wanted to pass the choice on to me, so I decided to keep the horsey. And now, let us try to cash in. Finally, all my subtle maneuvering is paying off, and the c4 pawn is dropping. Bishop h7, there's still f5, and this bishop is not gonna be around for long, or so I hope. Yeah, the going has gotten tough. g4, let's take. Now the one thing I should avoid doing is getting checkmated with a rook on g1 and the other rook somehow on h3. If I manage to avoid that fate, I will more likely than not win this game, but I'm not sure I'll be able to avoid it. Sounds like a tall order, and I'm already working on ways to make it happen. Oh boy. I should probably checkmate him before he checkmates me. That's normally an effective defense mechanism. So I'm planning to go rook c2 and rook f2 checkmate. There's nothing you can do about it. Nukes. Therefore, he does resign. Thank you for the game, Mr. Nukes. Where was Nukes from? Nukes from South Africa. Wow, that is far away. Another place I'd love to go. I've never been. But yeah, I hear they're very active chess-wise over there. Bunch of tournaments going on and all that. I'd love to go one day. Who shall I play next? I'll click on somebody. Everybody go crazy. Did I click? I thought I clicked. Here we are, Nick 2504. Is that his rating? Ooh, 2565 on chess 24. So I better be careful and play all my main weapons. The Nimzo. I'm mainly playing the Nimzo, obviously, to promote the video series I just did on it, but also to refresh my memory, because I can't remember anything I said in the series. Looks like Nick has studied my previous series, where I gave this Queen C2 followed by Knight F3 for white. In my old series, oh boy, I can't remember things. What did I give here for black? I gave something. C5 probably, C5 looks logical. Then DC Queen A5, was that my plan? I wish I had better memory, but I don't. E3, I can probably just grab space with C4, right? That looks fairly logical. Especially now that the bishop is on F4. General, for these structures you want your bishop on G5. Bishop F4 was my own recommendation, but I thought after C5 I wanted DC5. Well, now I'm not sure about Knight E7, but it looks fairly logical as well in order to go Bishop F5 and maybe Knight G6. Fight for the initiative. E4, can I take the pawn? I like pawns. It's also DE, but why not take? Does he want E5? Is that his point? Maybe he does want E5. Should probably have thought about this before I took, but I don't have the powers to anticipate so many things. Knight H5, Knight G5, Bishop F5, I come out on top, right? Let's see what happens. I'm not sure I'm following Nick 2504's thought process here. Because I have a feeling I might just emerge a piece up. I have a feeling I might eat my words as well. But for now, I'm optimistic. If he goes, let's say, Bishop E3, go Bishop A5, then Knight G5, I still have Bishop to F5. He goes Knight G5 immediately, but I thought I'm just material up here, no? Here, and next move. Knight takes F4. Things are looking pretty good. I am a piece up, right? Yeah. Piece up is normally enough. And therefore, Mr. Nick does resign. Thanks for the game. Yeah, that went wrong. On the opening, I believe in my old series for white, I gave DC5 and fighting against myself in my new series. You're gonna have to find out because I can't remember exactly, but I had some idea here for black. Well, after E3, C4, I believe black is in decent shape already. And yeah, this E4 move he played just didn't quite work. Let's find a new game of chess. Was there any other TV I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about Terrace House. I developed a very weird addiction to Terrace House, which is a Japanese show. It was on Netflix. It popped up on my start site. It's pretty much about nothing. It's one of these hidden camera shows like Big Brother or whatever they call them. Fairly civilized one. They don't, try to make the members, it's 6 people living in a house and they film them and they go out on dates and whatnot. They don't try to make them look bad. And the commentary is quite funny, but I still don't understand why I had to binge watch season 2 of it. But I couldn't stop watching. In the end, what I learned is not much really. Like, customs might be slightly different in Japan than over here. But at the end of the day, people are quite similar all over the place. But yeah, I spent way too much time watching Terrace House the last couple days. I'm not sure I'm recommending it, but it's very, very addictive. So, unfortunately, I didn't pick up any Japanese. It's with English subtitles, except for arigato. But I'm still not 100% sure if arigato means thanks or bye-bye. I believe it means thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it means thanks. And we continue our theme tournament of the Queen C2 Nimzo, apparently. D5. I used to play CD5 here, which I also gave in my video series for white. But I shall vary and play A3 in this game. After Bishop C3, Queen C3, black can play castles, which transposes to my black repertoire, or he can play Knight to E4. queen c2, c5, which doesn't fully equalize but comes close. There's also an even more aggressive option here to play c5, dc, d4. So many options, but he plays castles, and I'll play the main move, bishop to g5. Wow, the TV show discussion is going to some weird places. Have you watched Fringe? Isn't that some show that was bad 10 years ago already? The dude from Dawson's Creek? I only know that because I'm a serious nerd. Like, no one's supposed to know anything about Fringe. And no, I have not watched it. Not planning to. Knight bd7, that's a bit of a rare move, but Vichy might have experimented with this. Can't remember. dc4 is the main line. Knight bd7 does throw me out of book, but it's very possible this transposes to Giri against Vichy, amongst other things. There was one game where Giri took on f6 in a similar position, I'm not sure it was here, and caught a lot of flack for it. So I'll play knight bishop h4, which looks logical. And after c5, I'm out of book, but Black's play actually looks entirely plausible. I wouldn't be surprised if after dc there is some super GM preparation somewhere around here, based on g5, followed by knight to e4 or knight takes c5. Very interesting stuff. No clue. How this is supposed to go. Looks like Die Kraut, or Die Kraut, maybe it's German, like in The Simpsons. Tingle Tangle Bob, or Sideshow Bob, I shouldn't mix the names. Sideshow Bob has this tattoo saying Die Bart Die, but he argues it's German and it's Die Bart Die. Anyway, I guess you guys have seen The Simpsons. Why am I recounting Simpsons episode? It's funny. Arguably the best show ever, if we only count episodes 3 till 12. No, episodes, I keep saying episodes. Seasons 3 till 12. As for the position, these things are very tricky often. I'm a pawn up, but first of all, queen takes d5, regains that pawn, and secondly, even if I stay a pawn up, yeah, if Black develops very quickly, something like bishop d7, I'm not so sure how much I'd enjoy my pawn. Actually, I'm getting a weird feeling here. Bishop d7. Things aren't looking good for me. This is a very, very high-class move, too. Getting worried. I'll go here, but I have a feeling I'll get crushed. Yeah, b4 is probably asking for it. Queen f6 is going to come. And I shall get crushed. Uh-oh. I don't like getting crushed. It's so sad normally. I should try to survive for 10 more moves and then somehow win on time, but I'm not sure I'll be able to do that. What did I do wrong? I should have played like Giri. Play bishop f6. Simplify. Whoa! ed5. Another all-star move, intending bc queen a5 check. Showing off a bit, are we? I don't know. Should develop a piece. And hope for the best. As I said. Just wait and then plan to win on time if I survive another 10 moves. Probably rook c8 is legal and I'll be in trouble. But such is life. Is it? Too much TV chat. Have you seen any movies, Jan? I have this project. I found a list on the internet. And lists on the internet is all I need to get motivated about anything. I believe it's on what's called Esquire.com. 96. This looks like it should give me some hope. I might get my piece out now. 75. Anyway, back to the list. 75 movies every man should have seen or something like that. And I had not seen lots of them, which probably was the point of the list. It shows some rare movies. So I have this project of watching all of these movies, and I've seen some of those. I've seen some classics like 12 Angry Men, some movie from the 50s, which, yeah, it's good. It taught me, I think I kind of knew that already, that in dubio pro reo thing. But it's a good movie. One of these Fonda dudes is the main character. I'm showing my education here. Henry Fonda, I believe. So that was a good movie. What else have I seen? I've seen Fatal Attraction. Is that what it's called? One of these Michael Douglas 90s half erotic, but not really erotic thrillers where Glenn Close is doing bad things to him. Yeah, both of these are good. They were both from the list. I've seen Glory, a movie about American Civil War and A black regiment under the command of Matthew Broderick, of all people. It was good, very sad in the end. I know pretty much nothing about American Civil War, so I can't really judge on, like, yeah, historical accuracy and all these things. I know that Die Crowd, or D Crowd, is playing extremely well still, so I should probably focus a bit on the game. And yeah, I'm not sure I should have allowed this exchange of bishops, but I did. So now black is probably alright, even though his king long-term safety still gives me some hope. So I'm missing, like, obvious things. Just grabs my pawn. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, he should take. And I'll try to get it back, but I'm still worried because my back rank is weakish. And this is more of an asset than a weakness. Now rook c8, threatening rook c1. I have to play some passive move like rook a1. And for example, queen c3. When, yeah, I'm not better, to put it mildly. But life goes on, and I've announced my plan to win on time a long time ago. A lot of time talk. Maxwell Keeper would get all excited. This is a reference that, like, half a viewer will understand. I'm so proud of my obscure references. I confused myself. What was I talking about? Matthew Broderick, Glory? Yeah, decent movie, but I don't know. I lack knowledge about stuff to really elaborate. As for more recent movies, I've seen Hell or High Water, which is excellent. I think I talked about that. It got some Golden Globe nominations and stuff, right? I haven't seen the Golden Globes. I heard La La Land won everything, like last night. I'm not sure I'm gonna watch that. Didn't really look like my cup of tea. Even though I do think Emma Stone is a fantastic actress, so I might watch it. But yeah, I believe Hell or High Water is the most recent movie I've seen. I haven't been to the movies much. If you have like an infant daughter at home, all of a sudden it becomes a little tougher to go to the movies. So how do I win this? I'm planning to win on time. Why do I keep pretending like I'm not gonna win on time? Now I allow d4, which is not ideal either. But once again, let's not pretend like this will not be a very solid trip to Flagsville. Flagsville, Arizona. And we have arrived at our final destination. Weird game against Die Crowd. Played extremely well in the opening. Might have out-prepared me here, making all these superstar moves. But then, yeah, sort of let me back in, and I was a bit better. And planned to win on time all along. I read some praise for La La Land in the chat. Yeah, I might watch it. I like both Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, but it sounded like I read some review in the New Yorker that wasn't very kind. Look at me reading stuff. What other movies? I want to see what's called Manchester by the Sea. I heard that's a good movie. I still haven't watched The Lobster. I heard that's a very good movie too. I'll get around to it once I stop complaining. Once I stop binge watching Japanese shows like Terrace House. But yeah, I'm not up to date in the movie department. I haven't seen the Star Wars movie even. I'm playing Chip 71. Oh, one of these wacko gambits. I never know how to deal with those. I don't look at such things because they are so ridiculous. You can transpose to all kinds of normal lines. I'm sure you could try to refute it. Knight g6, e5, knight g8. It's tempting to do that. But nah, I'll be boring. What is the idea, e5 or d5? Probably d5, right? You can just go bishop b4 here and reach the main line thing of the thing, and I think I'll do that, even though I feel bad about it. This is the main line, what's it called? The Scottish four knights. I don't know, maybe after DC it's allowed to play. Knight takes e4 here. I've never spent a second looking at this. I know it's not supposed to work, this. What's called Frankenstein? No, it's not Frankenstein. I don't know. And the point is, yeah, this is the worst thing I can do probably, and it still transposes to a perfectly harmless line. Therefore, yeah, it's not an opening one should spend time studying. But having said all that, I'm still annoyed. I don't know the refutation, so I might look it up after this game. Now we're, after Chip 071 wanted to play a sharp game. Now we're in one of the most boring lines there is. That's sort of the other drawback. After d5, ed, either cd or castles. I'll start with castles. And then castles, cd, bishop g5, c6. This Scottish four knights is really not the most exciting opening known to man. He goes e5. That's supposed to be bad. I don't know the reason, as usual. That's another problem. If you rely on your grandmasterliness for refuting bad moves, sometimes you have to think, which is what you hope your grandmasterliness will stop you from doing, because you can use all this grandmasterly pattern recognition, so you don't have to think that much. But to refute dubious moves like e5, it would probably be advisable to give it some thought. Anyway, he castles. How can I punish? Queen h4, bishop f4, or even h3, knight e5, rook e1. It's not that clear yet. Knight e5, rook e1. Doesn't seem to work, so I'll just castle. When bishop f4 shall be played, Shelbyville. I still don't know what to do. Yeah, I haven't done a very convincing job refuting his opening choice. The good news is I still think I'm in very decent shape here. But at some point I'm going to have to avoid all this thinking avoidance. As a wise man once said, probably in some TV show, chess is a battle between I can't even rephrase it. What do you say? The pain of thinking and the pain of losing? Something clever like that. I'm sure you clever people out there have also read this book by this dude, Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, something like that. Which explains that it's painful to think real hard. That's pretty much the bottom line, right? And yeah, I've been trying to avoid it, but it's hard. Rook e1, bishop c5, bishop g3. Do I have any trickery there? Not obvious, is it? I could go d4, but it feels kind of wrong. And after a3, I'm not sure how to make further headway. No, I don't know. I'm not that happy. Should be something. But now I have to think. Can I go here? Bishop g3, queen g5. 4, bishop c5. Okay. No, it's a very dodgy move. But somehow it came to me. Which I'm gonna hope to explain by intuition. In the last Sherlock episodes, didn't they say something about intuition? Intuition is, I don't know, deduction too fast for the conscious mind to follow, some nonsense like that. It sounded smart to me. It sold me on intuition stuff, but I don't really think this is one of these cases. Weird position, but I feel like something's gone wrong. Because I like one tempo to be developed, so taking on e5 I'll always be in all kinds of pins. Interesting. Interesnia. Maybe just a3. Not sure what I do that. And he plays a3. Don't you hate it when they make good moves? I'll go here, because bishop c5, knight a4, I didn't see any progress. Bishop c3, I don't really want to give up that bishop. But on a5 is also worse than it was on b4. We'll see. Knight a4, knight e5, knight b6, a b f4 does not quite work. So what can I do? Bishop d4, bishop h7. Could go crazy and sacrifice a piece with bishop f2, but also doesn't look like enough. No, it's time for a humble pie, admitting things have gone wrong and continuing the game. Don't you hate humble pie? Never been my favorite pie at all. Even worse than American pie, whatever the latest version of American pie is. And I mean the movie franchise, not the pie. Another thing. H3. I'll go back. Things actually aren't that bad. In spite of all my fatalistic banter, if we can call this banter, rumblings, this bishop is still not fantastic, and I did more or less conclude development, so I'm not sure if I'm worse here really. This pawn structure is normally also quite healthy. I skipped over this moment, but here AB, in 90% of the cases, AB capturing towards the center is the correct decision here, even though CB would undouble the pawns. I believe AB is correct. H4, I'll go away. And as usual, all of this chatter is just me trying to play slightly more quickly so I can win on time later. Have we reached that moment? Bishop h6, I have bishop c2, so that's not a good idea. Should probably go cd, knight f5, h5. I suspect he will. But once again, time is on my side. Do I go h6 here or do I not? I don't know. Why not? Probably it's a bad move, but what can you do? Here or here? I'll go back. You know what? I don't want to wait around passively. I want to make one active move. Sacrificing a pawn. I have a feeling this is actually decent compensation because my pieces become active. And also because Jib has no time left on the clock, so now I can do showy things like making him step into this knight fork. And Jib resigns. Thanks for the game, Jib071. Where were you from? I didn't look it up. From the Netherlands. Oh, it's probably Jip, right? It's not Jib. My apologies. Hey, known you were Dutch, I probably would have figured it's Jip. Anyway, thanks for the game. What time is it? Do we have time? We have time for like 2 more games, so right. For example, against Eric Mage or Eric Mage. He says, hi Jan, hi Eric. How are you doing on this lovely Monday? Let's play the Grunfeld. I just felt like it. At least now that I have a daughter, I can get away with all these dad jokes a little more. But it's not getting funnier. Bishop to g5. What do they do here? Did he recommend bishop g7? I think Svidler is one of these bishop g7 dudes here. Then bishop f6, cd, and you do some funky stuff. Pretending you have compensation for the pawn after c6 or c5 for castles, followed by c6. The main move instead of bishop g7 is knight e4. And after knight f3, I do believe that I'm still supposed to go knight e4 with an equalish position most of the time. cd, knight g5, e6 is an old line. Bishop f4 is a move, bishop h4 is a move. So many moves, so little time. E3, is that a legal move? I mean, I do know it's technically a legal move, but is it a good move? I don't know. I will be greedy, grab the bishop. And now the question is, should I grab more space? Yeah, I gotta go e5 here, right? Feels logical. Attacking this knight, he has to retreat. And I'm not sure if I want to go e4 or ed4. Both are plausible. Probably want to go ed4. Because after e4, knight d2, c6, cd, cd, queen b3 looks a little unpleasant. And ed is also a kinder move to my bishop on g7. For these structures with e4, you normally want the bishop on d6 or on that diagonal. Well, here the bishop seems to be doing just fine on g7. Now, let me think. Do I need to spend a move on dc? I guess I do, but I don't really want to because I don't want to help him develop. I could go castles, but then cd. Now it's going to be too much of a hassle to win back that pawn. So I'll just take and castle. Black is fine here. Two bishops. Bishop g4, knight c6 in one order or the other. Which one? Probably bishop g4, h3 takes, queen takes, and then knight c6. Not sure I'm really better there, but I'm certainly not worse. Probably slightly better. Which is not too terrible an outcome of the opening. Looks like he has to go d5 in order to keep this pawn alive, and I haven't really decided where I want to put my knight. Knight d4 or knight e5. You could make a case for both. I'll go here. Not sure about it. Not sure what to do next. Often this knight would like to reroute to d6, but there it can be exchanged. And if the knights get exchanged after knight e4, my advantage will be very, very tiny. So I'll take my time and try to improve the position a bit first. Not sure b5 helps my cause very much, to be honest. It's weakening the square. Actually, it probably hurt my cause. Yeah, that could have played. Nah, b5 was just a terrible move. And a move I frankly shouldn't make, because it's obvious that it's weakening my structure big time. Knight e2 helps me a bit, just giving me a pawn. And also vacating, or abandoning the option of going knight to e4, challenging a knight on d6 in the c5 square. That makes life a little easier, but I'm still not a fan of my b5 decision at all. d1. I want to go bishop e5. Yeah, I don't really see any reason not to. Eric Margus says, I'm a bit nervous in the chat. Don't be. There's literally no one watching this on a Monday morning, so you don't have to be nervous. Actually, I should be nervous. I'm the site who's 1,000 points higher rated, so only I can make a fool of myself. And I do plenty, unfortunately. Anyway, so far so good. I am a pawn up, and this knight will arrive at its final destination on d6 soon, where it will hopefully anchor my position, even though, thanks to b5, my queen side is still a little shaky. I'm not sure if queen g5 really was the best I could do. But I'll try to cash in on Eric Margus' nervousness. Is that the correct word? Yeah, I think it is. And somehow convert this pawn. But yeah, look at how ugly b5 is. a6 is a weakness, queen c6 is now a legal move. Rook e5, another good move. Now I'm getting nervous. It was a cunning ploy to tell me that he's nervous. Making me nervous. Devious, Eric. Queen f4, rook f1. My queen all of a sudden very short off squares, on squares. Where do I go? All right, I'll try not to blunder the queen, because normally blundering your queen is a bad idea. That much I can say with absolute certainty. It was best to go all the way back home, but it felt a little passive. Here we go. Before this pawn gets taken, I'll try to find something useful for it to do. Maybe go to a4, harass this bishop. Do something with your life, little a-pawn. see the world. Sorry, Eric. Your nervousness finally told and you gave me that rook. Black was seriously better, but yeah, of course, that would not happen under normal circumstances. And as I mentioned in the last show, I'm working on this new book on being a rook up. I'm sure it will be a classic because it fills a need, fills a void. Have you read a lot of books about being a rook up? I have not. Therefore, I believe people will need it, because don't we all panic when having an extra rook? Sometimes we can still hope to win on time, but many a time you have this extra rook, you have all this extra time, but you don't know what to do. And that is where my book will come in. It will tell you useful things like, just because you're a rook up doesn't mean you have to start playing like an idiot. Just keep making normal moves, take pawns, and everything will be okay. Keep your octopus knight on d6, covering f7. Don't blunder things like bishop takes b5, and you'll be alright. If your opponent wants to exchange queens and you're a rook and a couple pawns up, you can normally do it. But don't exchange just for the sake of exchanging. Just try making the best moves. So that's one chapter, a little preview, which I'm willing to share here for free. But of course, for the real juicy bits, like a rook up with counterplay, stuff like that, I can teach you, but I have to charge. And Eric Mage does resign. Thanks for the game, Eric Mage. Let us play somebody else. Oops, wrong thing. Wrong click. What about a man that has been in the news the other day, Mr. Goldie-Poldy? He's been in the news because our hero, Goldie-Poldy, aka Lukas Podolski, is being transferred to China at age 31. I think he's leaving Galatasaray, going to China, where he's supposed to be making decent money. Let's hope Mr. Podolski does enjoy China, while we're enjoying a good old-fashioned Trompovsky. And Goldie-Poldy plays e6, e4. Of course, logical occupying the center, but it also means that we have to part with our beloved dark squared bishops. So nothing's free in this world. c3, this is a system that became, I wouldn't say trendy, but when people started getting nowhere with knight c3, they started playing the c3, trying to build a pawn chain of knight e2, f4, e5. The bishop on c4 looks more active than on d3. Someone told me this, probably Luke van Vele, to put the bishop on c4 here. Yeah, I'm not so sure about his g5 setup. It might make it a bit harder to go f4, even though not really. But it really weakens squares, like the h5 square. If you want a castle, knight g3, knight h5, or f4. It's already an instant nuisance. So, not sure. I don't think I like this g5 move here. Even though it's a fairly typical move in these structures. Not a fan here. What do I do? f4 looks normal. Knight d2, of course, looks normal. I'll start with knight d2. Even though you could make a case that maybe, yeah, this was actually a superficial move. Knight should probably have gone the other way. Knight a3, hinting at knight b5, and then maybe knight c2, knight e3 to target these squares. Well, yeah, on d2, it's just a dumb square. So that was bad, but you live, you learn. But yeah, I'm very unhappy about that move. Knight a3 was so much stronger. Should probably prepare for him castling queenside and at least start fishing for some weaknesses there by going a4 and a5. Now he does castle kingside, which is logical since, well, I was ready to meet him here. I will try to use this very moment where it looks like he can't go bishop c6 because of d5 to make him go bishop c8. And now focus on the king side again. This knight, as mentioned, has a nice little outpost on h5, where I will try to locate it towards. c5. All right. Knight h5 anyway. Not sure I want to take this bishop. Could go d5, but that's not really in the spirit of things either. e5, g, f4. Rook f4, d e5 is not so clear. I'll sacrifice a bunch of stuff. Why not? He goes d5, but that's a surprise. I thought he was going to go g f4. After d5, if we close the position, my initiative on the king side will become even stronger, I would assume. Because now my bishop is on this diagonal. Yeah, his piece is okay. He can go after the a6 pawn, but it looks like an awfully slow plan. And there were many moves that were probably crushing here. Knight h5, queen g4. I decided on f5, which looks pretty strong as well. Now just gotta find the way to get the job done. Not sure, f5 probably wasn't best. Yeah, should have played one of the others, but my position is still fairly overwhelming. Once again, due to the weaknesses caused by g5. I'm playing badly. I don't like it when I'm playing badly. Now after f6, all of a sudden he has some hope again. Maybe not, maybe queen h3. It's really, really focused on getting that a6 pawn. You can have it, dear boy. I am nothing if not willing to part with that pawn. Well, the position was very thankless, so I shouldn't make fun of it. It was very tough to defend either way, but yeah, this is just too slow. And something very bad will happen to Goldie Poldy's king. How do I do this? Like this, maybe? Maybe like this. It's a weird pre-move. Because this is checkmate, but yeah, it was pretty much indefensible. I don't know, strange game. The last clear mistake I thought was d5. Here after g f4, I had the feeling something good should happen, but I didn't really calculate it all the way through. Like knight h5, d e5, or e d6, queen d6, knight e4. Probably the king is quite weak, but this is still messy. Or rook f4, d e5, I don't know what. But after d5, I'm just attacking for free, and that's normally bad news. Not really, but in this case. Anyway, we will play one more game, and then let's go home. Not literally, it's still early in the day. Then let's wrap it up, is what I'm saying. I'll play another newbie. No. Banter Blitz newbie, I mean. Mr. Bill 1226. Let's see what Billy has up his sleeve. Maybe he's not with us. Five, four, three, two, one. See? Oh, that was close. There he is. Goes d4 in literally the last second. I shall try to fianchetto my bishop and play one of these goofy lines I spent my childhood playing. Like d6, e4, knight c6. Stuff like that. I don't even know if this has a name, but I played it for many more years than I should have. d5, knight d4, bishop e3, e5, d5, knight e7. Knight f3 is supposed to be not the best move, because here after bishop g4, you might lose the struggle for the d5 square, for the d4 square. Even though after d5, nothing too terrible has happened. Here, what do I do? Probably e5, d5, knight d4 anyway. Could also make a case for bishop takes f3 when he has to go gf. But in general, it's this kind of stuff you want to play in this line. Bishop e2 gives me a choice what to capture, but since I put in all this hard work to put my knight on d4, I'll probably take here. Not sure, maybe I should have gone c5 immediately. But I thought it doesn't run away. But I'll do it now, just to avoid any unpleasantness later on. Just strengthening this guy. If d takes c6, b takes c, I can always go c5, should I ever need it to reinforce it. And the long-term plan is something like castles, f5, and start a lethal attack on the king side. Or, if that doesn't work out, then start a lethal attack on the queen side. I don't think I need to be afraid of the endgame per se, so I could certainly play queen d7 here. I'm a bit tempted to keep queens on the board with f5, with king f8 though, and that's what I'll do. Not sure that's objectively the right call. Probably not, actually. But who knows? He should take on d4 at some point. Maybe now. Well, I have to think about justifying my king on f8. You can either go f5 and then king f7, pretending like nothing has happened, or not. But now after bishop g4, it's too tempting to even think about anything else. Gotta push f5. h5, bishop h6 was legal too. But, as I said, this looked logical. I'm not sure actually anymore, because I just spotted that he doesn't have to play passively, but he can play f4. When my king on f7 all of a sudden will be in the line of fire. Not really what I wanted to happen. I'm not sure if it's bad after f4, rook f8. But yeah, that was a bit superficial. And if there's one thing we vouched to avoid in Banter Blitz, it is superficial chess. Still f4, I guess. Bishop d4. Even this is not so clear, actually. Some drawbacks to Mr. King over here. I would love to go knight g6, but then f5 is loose. So yeah, it's not so clear. Sad but true. I'm gonna go h5, which might be a bad move, but I'm expecting this horsey to pop up on g3 somewhere in the near future, and I want to be ready for it. Well, to chase it away by playing h4. I'm gambling though here with my king in the middle of the board. Not the way I like to do things normally. Because normally I like to bore you all to sleep. Bore you to sleep. That's a nicer way to put it. I'm very scared about this knight reaching g3. Guessing rook d1 was meant as a way to prepare f4. After f4, I thought I still have time to throw in queen b6, threatening d3 with a discovered check. And then if he goes king h1 to play e4, things are more or less under control. Yeah, it's a little shaky. It's also like fancy stuff like rook d4, ed, knight f4, which I don't think works, but still a bit scary. We'll see what Bill 1226. Date of birth? 26th of December? That's probably not ideal, right? You don't get so many Christmas presents because it's so close to Christmas. Assuming that you celebrate Christmas. If not, that's probably less of a concern. So I'm guessing it's better if your birthday is that late in the year to get your presents some other day. I don't know. It was a nice present that he gave me, this bishop. Well, he's doing his best to keep the game going. I now quite like my chances. Queen b6 I'm not sure about. Let's not get too carried away yet. Removing the queen from the site of action is not always a great idea. King g2, and I still have to be careful. Still, piece is a piece. There's no real threats, right? Rook h8, rook g4 check, king f6, and that's it. I might check here, and if king f7, rook f5 looks like play, but just king f6 to keep an eye on this pawn. And I can't see anything too bad happening to me. And and therefore Bill 1226 does resign. It was an interesting game until g3, where he just missed that this bishop was hanging. If not, yeah, I'm not sure. King h1 or whatever, it's still everything to play for. That's it for today. Apologies for the spoilers. Apologies for not getting to play, everybody. Apologies for this very dirty coffee mug. But no, I should think of something better than this I'm sorry section, because I'm never genuinely sorry about anything. And therefore, I think people can sniff it out that it's a bit of a fake part of the show. I'll think of something else. So far, so good. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for playing. Thank you for keeping me company discussing TV shows. That's it. See you next time. Bye-bye.